podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Geico asks, how would you love a chance to save some money on insurance? Of course you would. And when it comes to great rates on insurance, Geico can help. Like with insurance for your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and RV. Even help with homeowners or renters coverage. Plus, add an easy-to-use mobile app, available 24-hour roadside assistance, and more, and Geico is an easy choice. Switch today and see all the ways you could save. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com or contact your local agent today.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion with Stephen Wallace. In each show, Stephen will interview someone connected to the world of horse racing or cricket.
Hello everyone. With England's Test series against Pakistan due to start on the 1st of December, I have the great pleasure to welcome Leena Aziz, Asia's first female cricket commentator, to the Paddock and the Pavilion. Hello, Leena.
Hi, Stephen. How are you? Good to be with you finally, huh?
Yes, delighted to finally speak to you in person. Actually on Zoom, and I'm looking forward to our chat about your broadcasting career and also about Pakistan cricket, with a focus on the forthcoming 3-match Test series. But I'd like to begin by asking you about the reaction to England's return for a 7-match T20 series in late September.
Well, there was a lot of enthusiasm. Everyone was very excited. First of all, back home, people in Pakistan just wanted that series to go through smoothly, so then more could sort of proceed in the coming months. The Test series, as you know, is now in very shortly, in a week's time or so. So then the first thing everyone wanted back home was that, that England should come after that, such a long hiatus, and then that series should go smoothly. And then secondly, looking at it cricket-wise, people wanted a close, competitive series. People wanted Pakistan to do well against England, or a big side, and various other little matchups. And Babar Azam to do well. We wanted to judge his captaincy against a big side in difficult circumstances. So lots of little matchups were going on. And then, of course, there was a huge level of excitement that a big team was coming. England were finally coming up after so many years. And they were just looking forward to seeing some exciting matches. And they got some exciting matches. Some excellent matches. And that is, that is what the whole scenario looked back home.
And Moeen Ali being the England captain, with him having Pakistani descent and England descent, he was the perfect man for the role.
Yeah, he was. But, one thing that people wanted to see back home was some great batting, aggressive batting by Josh Butler. But unfortunately, he was, not fully fit for the series. So Moeen was the captain. So that was also very exciting that, someone from Pakistani descent was captaining the English side. He captained them so well. And led them with a lot of aggression. So that was very exciting. But yeah, we back home would have loved to see Josh Butler also play one of his dashing innings. Maybe not in all the matches, because if he'd done that in all the matches, Pakistan would lose all the matches, because once he's on song, he's a difficult batsman to control. But then we got to see some new faces like, Harry Brooks, and that was very exciting. Someone who had, played a little bit at the PSL. So the whole series was quite exciting, and some good youngsters from Pakistan. So yeah, maybe Pakistan could have experimented a little more, I feel. But then, we saw an exciting series.
Yeah, toed and fro, didn't it? And Pakistan were 3-2 up, and England winning the series 4-3. We're often saying when there's a 7-match series that, oh my God, there's so much cricket here. But that wasn't the case in this series, was it?
Yeah, there are lots of matches. 7 is a big number to have. And just before the World Cup, I felt it was great preparation for both the teams. And that's why I feel both the teams, one of the reasons both the teams were in the final of the World Cup was because they played a lot of matches just before the World Cup against each other, and also just generally a lot of matches. And then Pakistan went on to New Zealand and played a few matches there. But that series was a good preparation for both the sides. And some great cricket. And like you said, Pakistan was up. They should have won the series. But then there has been this slight problem with Pakistan. They haven't been able to close out series. I mean, even this series against England, they should have closed it down and won the series. And also the test series against Sri Lanka, they were one up and they were in a good position to sort of dominate the series. But then that series ended up 1-1. Then before that against the West Indies. So yeah, that did show Pakistan's inability and that one weakness to close down a series. Whether, I mean, you put it down to a new captain or, not such an experienced captain in Babar Azam, or, maybe nervousness to close down a series, or when that moment comes that you got to win the match and just win that series. Pakistan was unable to do it. So, that is where I feel, a psychologist is a good deal to have, a good person to have, just sort of calm your nerves in a difficult situation or when you have to close down matches or close down a series. So, yeah, I think it'll be a great addition in the Pakistan side to have someone who could mentor them, someone like not even a psychologist, maybe someone like a Matthew Hayden on a regular basis or a foreign coach.
Well, we're going to move on now. Later we're going to talk about the World Cup because I know you've got some strong views about the Pakistani team in the World Cup. But how did you first get into cricket yourself?
Well, a long story. It was I was a little girl. India was touring Pakistan back in the late 70s, 1978 to be precise. I was just growing up in my grandmother's house in Peshawar. And as luck would have it, she had a huge house which had a big garden. And most of my female cousins were out of the country, maybe studying abroad and all. But at that point, at that juncture, I had male cousins, 7-8 years older than me, and as a big joint family system. At that point, we were living there for a while at my grandmother's house. So all those older cousins and my father being a cricket fanatic, and he still is. I mean, they used to play cricket on a regular basis. And then, so, I was little feeling lonely. So they used to involve me. So I got involved playing cricket with them. And I had the sort of personality where, very soon, within a year or so, I became the leader somehow. I don't know how. And and I sort of conspired with my grandmother, and we got these, and my cousin Sherry, and we got these lights, the big triangular lights, and started playing night cricket. So just, 4 or 5 men in the house, me, some neighbors. On the weekends, we had like 8, 10, 15 people playing cricket, in my grandmother's garden. And from there, I mean, my passion grew. I mean, I started to watch more test cricket. I went back. We shifted to Islamabad the following year. And I started to play on the streets with boys who were like older than me, 7, 6, 8 years older than me, with a tape ball. I got to learn how to put solution tape on the tennis ball. Played regularly on the streets of Islamabad, and then a couple of years later, I started to captain young people my age, and we used to play with different streets, proper matches, 10-over matches, 20 overs, and once in a month we would play with a proper cork ball in a nice cricket ground and not on the streets, and that's how it started. And then one day I was about 16. And 16, 17 maybe, and I was watching a game at a friend's house. And that happened to be one of the newspapers, the guy's father happened to be a newspaper owner. And he was just, I think, just resting in the next room. And he heard me comment, and he called his son. He said, "Who's this young lady who knows more about cricket than you?" And so the son told him who exactly I was and whose daughter and whose niece and how it works in Pakistan. So he said, "Okay, just call her. I want to speak to her." And then, he said, "Come over to my office. I'd like you to write on cricket." And that's how I started to write on international games.
How old were you then?
I was in my teens. I think the first proper article I wrote I was just about to be 20. And and then I covered the 1996 newspaper World Cup in Pakistan, the 1997, 98 Australian tour to Pakistan, and in between the little small series. And from there, I started to work on TV and started to commentate a few years later down the line, and do analysis, work for the Radio Pakistan, which for them, I've done over 200 international matches, say 30 test matches and T20s and World Cups and bilateral series. And now a few years ago, I started work on the domestic level and commentate, the Pakistan first class season and so on and so forth. But all along the 20 years, I've always been an analyst. Even now when I'm in Dubai, I do shows 2-3 times a week for different television channels, some international ones also, like the TRT World. So, I'm constantly, wherever I am in the world, now that I've made a name, worked so hard over the last 20, 25 years, people follow me, channels follow me, and I am you're following me and I'm here for you. So, things like that. This is the way it worked out for me. But it's been a difficult journey as an Asian woman I've encountered many villains in my career, people who didn't want me to do well, people didn't like, for some reason, which I still don't know, they didn't like me.
Can we go back? You're writing, as a 19, 20-year-old, and then how, Leena, did you get into broadcasting on the television and the radio?
Well, like I told you, as I started to write pretty young, and for a few years, I just kept writing for the newspaper called The Muslim. It was Islamabad-based newspaper, quite popular nationally also. So I was writing for them, covering different series. And then I covered the 1996 World Cup for them. And then, there was a female managing director, a lady, for the Pakistan television, which is like the BBC for Pakistan, the state television. She's read my articles, and she called one of the sports producers and said, "Who's this woman who's writing for this newspaper?" So, he very, how it is in Pakistan, very jokingly said, "Oh yeah, it's some young lady, I don't know." So she said that, whoever she is, I want to meet her. And then she met me, called me to her office. And then she said, "We'd like you to do television analysis with, gentlemen like Sarfaraz Nawaz and some other cricketers. Whenever, we have an opportunity, if we call you, would you like to do it?" And I said, "Yeah, of course, I'd love to do it. I mean, who won't, like to be on TV for something that you're passionate about?" So that's how it started.
Do you remember the first game you worked on television, and how nervous were you working on telly?
Not really nervous because, before that I worked for a newspaper, and, I was pretty confident about my trade, my knowledge, the kind of work I was putting into the game, and not just work, it's my passion, so when you're working and it's your passion, it becomes easier. So yeah, I mean, a little bit, not too much though. I remember I wasn't too nervous, just, back then, because I dress up in a very Western fashion. Even when I'm in Pakistan, I'm a very jeans sneaker person. And those were the days when, Ziaul Haq had just, ruled Pakistan for many years. So the only thing I remember was that they wanted me to wear some kind of a dupatta. You know what a dupatta is?
No,
it's like a scarf. So I refused, and he said, "Okay, you don't want to wear that. It was winters then, so you can wear a jacket." And I said, "Fine, we can agree on a jacket." So I just wore a jacket over my pair of jeans, and that's how it started. And I remember my first program was with Sarfaraz Nawaz, and then I did many programs, many shows with him over the next 20 years. So yeah, that is how it started. But I wasn't too nervous.
And what was it like working for Sarfaraz Nawaz? Was he one of your cricketing heroes when you were growing up?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. After he took those 9 wickets at Melbourne, he certainly became my hero. And he was someone I admired a lot. And of course, I knew that he was considered to be the pioneer of reverse swing in the world. And even Imran Khan had learned that trade from Sarfaraz. And Sarfaraz had passed that on to Imran, and then Imran on to other bowlers. So yeah, I mean, it's a big thing. But he made it very easy. Sarfaraz is a very easygoing person, very relaxed. And he won't make it difficult for you to work with him. If he had to criticize you, he would, but not maybe not with any malice in his heart. So it was good. I was learning. It was a learning sort of time for me. So I would learn from him, but I think I held myself in a good stead, and I was pretty strong. So yeah, it was good fun.
And when you started, you were Asia's first woman commentator. Was there a lot of hostility towards you? I mean, did some men make it very difficult?
Yes, some men did. I mean, back at the Pakistan television, they had this gentleman who was managing them. He didn't like me for some odd reason. I mean, there was a time that I worked with him and we were fine with each other. But when he became the director sports of Pakistan television, he somehow, didn't want me there, or I don't know if he felt insecure or what his problem was with me. I did try and ask him, and I said, look, whatever it is, let's sit down, sort it out. But he's not that kind of guy who sorts out things, So yeah, he gave me a pretty hard time. Some of the, people in and around the circle gave me a hard time. But then there were some people who really appreciated me. I mean, there are lots of people who really appreciated me. People at the Radio Pakistan were quite helpful. Then some commentators really, helped me a bit to grow and to, learn. Chishti Mujahid was one, the gentleman at the Radio Pakistan who helped me and gave me chances. And if they had to, of course, when you're just starting out something, you will make mistakes. So they will point those out to me and help me become better. So yeah, there's some heroes and some villains. So it's like a mixed bag.
And of the two, working on the radio or the television, which do you prefer?
Well, I knew this question was coming, and it's a very, very difficult question to answer. I think both are quite different to each other. On radio, it's very difficult because you can't breathe even when you're commentating. You have to be the listener's eyes and ears, and you have to say things like, "Oh, in he comes, passes the umpire now and bowls." So you can't say those things on television. The television people can watch, and you generally have to commentate differently. And when commentating on television, I learned that there are two kind of commentators: the lead commentator and the color commentator. So usually I get to do the color commentary, and on radio I do the lead commentary. So I had both the experiences, and I love them both. I mean, the challenges are different, so it'd be unfair to compare both. Both are very enjoyable for me because I want to learn. And I think the learning never stops, even if you become the best commentator in the world and you're 75 years old and you're still commentating, you're still learning, I feel. So I view them differently, and I feel both television and radio have got different challenges and very exciting ones. So to compare them wouldn't be fair.
And with so much cricket now, male, female, you must have to do a lot of research to keep up with all the changes in players and...
Yeah, of course. I mean, one of the things that helped me research a lot, of course, articles and all those and programs, but one of the things that on a daily basis helped me a lot is the Twitter. I mean, I use the Twitter a lot, and it helps you, you read about what what so many fans are saying, and you get to know what's happening in the world vis-a-vis cricket. And also I watch every game religiously. That helps me learn a lot. And, just watch every game almost. So that helps me. And then I read a lot. I have these great discussions with my son, who follows the game very religiously, football and cricket. So yeah, all these, amalgamate all of these factors, the articles, the TV programs, watching games religiously, talking about the game with my son and other people, even going to different spaces nowadays. So, you get different views, and you sort of learn, and then you give your view, and you get people to talk about your view. So it's become easier now to research because you can do it so many ways. But my favorite way is to discuss and to do analysis program, watch a lot of games, especially test matches. I mean, that it just helps you learn about a player individually. what you can learn about a player while he's playing test matches, it's so much more than any other shorter word matches. Or so, lots of different angles where I learn and keep up with what's going on. And then almost every 2-3 times a week, I've got my shows. So that, keeps me updated.
And have you got some commentary and radio heroes that you follow and like?
Well, on television, definitely. I've got Mike Atherton and Nasser Hussain, my two favorites. I like some of what Ian Chappell says. Back home, when Ramiz Raja was commentated, I liked his commentary. Ravi Shastri, I liked his commentary. I used to like Rishi Beno a lot. So, and Isha Goa, someone I like, and we've also got one female commentator back home, Aruj. She's pretty good. So, I like all these commentators. I love to work with them, given a chance.
And you mentioned a few there. There's a lot more female commentators and broadcasters now that in the business.
It's beautiful. And when I hear them talk, being the first one in Asia, whenever someone from Asia is commentating, I feel I have a role in that, because being the first one, I do feel I might have, hopefully I would have inspired them in some small way to become a commentator or to take up this rather difficult profession, especially for a female. Because in Asia, men just think cricket is something they own. It's not for the females, it's just for men. But now that more and more women are coming into this profession, even from Asia, I feel really good. And I feel that somewhere along the line, I might have inspired them, and that feels good. But, I would want to do a lot more work. I would love to commentate, say, maybe for Sky one day, or, some of the foreign channels. So, I'd like to work with them. But I do feel quite proud of the fact when young ladies are now commentating in Asia, I feel like I've got some part in this.
Sounds like you really feel you were a pioneer, because it must be harder for a woman to work in cricket in Asia than other parts of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, earlier that, there were some villains in my life who didn't want me to work. They tried their very best. I shouldn't. Creating hurdles for me and not giving me work. But then I was a very resilient sort. Now when some young lady comes to me and asks me for advice, I tell her that don't take it up if you haven't got resilience, and don't take it up if you're not going to watch test matches, and don't take it up if you don't have the power or the will to fight against the villains, and you will have them. So, it has been a difficult journey, but then along the line, like I said, really Pakistan, PTV, PCB, Ramiz Raja, I've got a lot of heroes in my life who've helped me to develop and grow. So, definitely.
Well, thank you very much for that. You really, really show your passion for the game of cricket and the work you've done in getting to where you are today, and inspiring lots of other female broadcasters. But I'd like to move on to talk about cricket and the World Cup, more so on the 3-match test series, but just briefly on the World Cup. What were your thoughts on the competition? We had quite a lot of rain. We had some big shocks that actually helped Pakistan, and victory for England. But what were your thoughts?
Well, initially, that game against India, I feel we should have won it. I felt we did enough to get around 160 runs with our bowling attack to win it. Of course, I'm not happy, and I'm very vocal about the Pakistani openers not using the power play properly and not getting those 50-55 runs. And being conservative. I'd rather have someone else open with Rizwan than Babar, and Babar going down the order. But then I felt in that match we've done enough. And then, I, of course, as any Pakistani, I was very sad. And then the main shock was that Zimbabwe match. Not in 100 years would I have thought that Pakistan was going to lose to Zimbabwe. But then from there onwards, I felt Pakistan had some pieces of luck. Pakistan played really well against South Africa after losing 4 wickets, I think it was. They came back really well via Shadab and Iftikhar, and then bowled well. And, the other matches we played well. We made a good comeback in the tournament. And then also, of course, we were helped by South Africa choking against the Netherlands. So it was a good tournament for us. I wouldn't say that we played great cricket throughout the tournament, because we didn't. I mean, losing to Zimbabwe and that match against India, I can't say we played some good cricket. And then the worries about the power play is still here as I speak to you. There are some worries which need to be addressed as far as the power play is concerned and Pakistani batting is concerned. But I'm really happy with the Pakistani bowling. I think they've done wonderfully well. They're a very balanced attack, excellent pacers who can bowl the slow one, the bumper, the yorkers, normal length deliveries. So, and they've got a lot of aggression. We've got two excellent spinners. But there is some concern about the captaincy and the power play.
Certainly true about the Pakistan bowling. I think the highest score that any team got against Pakistan was India in that first match.
Yeah, I mean, that just speaks volumes of their prowess as bowlers. I mean, they're young bowlers. They're not the most experienced bowlers in the world. Shaheen was injured. I don't know if he should have played that tournament or not, but I mean, he did. And once he, went into more and more into the tournament, he became better. And then unfortunately, he was injured. But the rest of the bowlers, Rauf and Naseem and Wasim, they all bowled well. And then the spinners bowled well, particularly Shadab. And I just feel that maybe Nawaz could have been used better. When as a captain, you're playing with a player, you know exactly what temperament he's got. Whether he's a finisher with a bat and the ball, and I don't see Nawaz to be the finisher. So you don't use him in those crunch moments. So that is why I see I've got some concern about the captaincy. So I feel Nawaz could have been used maybe in the power play and then in the middle and not so much in the end. And also when he's batting, don't ask him to finish. Maybe use him as a pinch hitter, and he's done so well as a pinch hitter. So, I feel Pakistan cricket has it has a lot of room to improve the captaincy and, the batting and the tactical point of views, different areas. But it's in the right direction. I think Ramiz Raj is doing well. International cricket's coming back. The team is developing. We've got some young players. The Pakistan Junior League, that's a great thing. So I think he's the right guy to go forward with, Ramiz Raja. But then we got to work at small little things and then go forward with those, correcting those things.
Here at the famous Sloping Pitch podcast, we're following the greatest show on earth. But would you like pitch-side seats for all the action in Qatar? The heat, the goals, the drama? Well, so would we. But why not join me, Nick Hancock, in Stoke-on-Trent and co-host Chris England in London's SW16? Every game live from England. The famous Sloping Pitch podcast. We think this tournament could be okay.
Sport Social.
Well, let's move on to the Test series. It's 17 years since England toured Pakistan. When Michael Vaughan's Ashes winners toured, they lost the series 2-0. What do you recall about that series, Leena?
Well, as you said, I mean, Ashes winning series coming to Pakistan, coming to the subcontinent, it's a different feel. I mean, you win the Ashes and you come to the subcontinent, you'll have to play a different brand of cricket in the subcontinent, different pitches, different flavor, different crowd, so much Pakistani crowd. So I believe Michael Vaughan must have learned a thing or two playing in the subcontinent, difficulty of playing. And of course, England, Pakistan have got a rich Test cricket history. And, we've gone and won in England, and in England in 2001 won that fantastic Test match where it was almost pitch dark. So yeah, I mean, that was the last series under Vaughan that England lost, and they must be looking to avenge that, because this is a great side they have under Stokes now. I mean, there's so much talk about aggressive cricket and baseball and all that. So Pakistan should be very wary of this English cricket side. I mean, they recently made a tour playing seven T20. So some of them might know the condition. And some of them might know the conditions even better because some of them play, the Pakistan Cricket League. So this is going to be an interesting series for me because it is a series where Pakistan will be looking to make amends for the Australian series, which they lost like 7-8 months ago. And then England would be looking to win in the subcontinent because that's really big for any side coming from England, Australia, or New Zealand to come and win in the subcontinent. They can take a leave out of Cummins' side and win. They just won 1-0. But for me, the main thing would be the pitches, Stefan. I mean, I would want really good supporting pitches, not the ones we dished out against, not like the ones we dished out against the Australians a few months ago, where it was so negative. I mean, I would want a pitch which for a day and a half, it will support the fast bowlers from day, the second day to the third day, support the batsmen last few days, maybe some spin, some cracks opening up, some reverse swing. So something there for everyone, not just for the batsmen, because that doesn't work for me. That kind of negativity would never work for me. And that kind of negativity via the pitches, I mean, you can never win a series against any side. And Pakistan should have learned that. And I'm quite positive that the pitches are going to be better because I know Ramiz Raja for a fact wants to, play cricket. He wants Pakistan to play cricket on positive pitches or sporting pitches where there's a bit for everyone. And we have spoken about it. I have spoken to him and he's been very passionate about what, the sand content in the pitch, etc., and how a pitch should be just, nice and sporting and people should be able to watch good cricket. So I just hope that he can walk the talk because I know he certainly wants better pitches. The pitches against Australia had just come into come as the chairman of the board. He was just finding his feet. Now that he's found his feet, done some good things, he's in command. I think the pitches should be better. And that's the key for me, to have a good test series. Whoever wins, I just want a good set of pitches to be offered to both the sides.
And Pakistan announced their squad, I think, a couple of days ago. What were your thoughts on the squad that's been announced? And can you point out some of the key players in the Pakistan lineup?
Well, Shaheen Afridi certainly, I mean, him being absent wouldn't do Pakistan many favors. I mean, Pakistan certainly miss him. So in his absence, I mean, the fast bowlers who are going to take his place are going to take responsibility as the leader of the pack. The responsibility would come on the young shoulders of Naseem Shah and Rauf and maybe Wasim, or if, those kind of bowlers who haven't played many test matches. Naseem, can you beat it? Naseem is the most experienced amongst these chaps. So, the responsibility would be on their shoulders. In my mind, there'll be a key question whether these bowlers who are usually considered to be T20 or one-day bowlers, whether they'll be able to bowl long spells, and take wickets and have that kind of endurance, and if they're so fit to bowl in a test match. So that'll be interesting for me. And responsibility, of course, would be on the senior batsman to put up enough runs to give that kind of cushion to their fast bowlers and spinners. They've got new mystery spinner, and there's no Yasir Shah. So, the responsibility would come on, players like Babar Azam and Azhar Ali and Rizwan and Abdullah Shafiq and Imam. So those are going to be responsible for giving the bowlers enough runs to then try and get wickets and dominate a test match.
You mentioned Abdullah Shafiq. I looked him up. He's quite unfamiliar to English cricket fans. He's only played 7 test matches, but he's been very successful.
He's a very good player. He's pretty much in the mold of Babar Azam, very classical, can play the cover drive well, can play on the leg side, can play well off his pads, can play the straight drive well, and can take a lot of pressure as he did in Sri Lanka when the chips were down, and he made single-handedly made Pakistan win the test match against the odds. So he can play on those kind of pitches where there's a little bit of turn, there's a little bit of seam. He's got a good technique. But one thing is that he's got to improve on his temperament. I still feel he's got to work on his temperament. And whether he has done that or not, Pakistan just finishing a very, very strong Quaid-e-Azam Trophy, the domestic series, the 4-day competition. So he's played almost lots of matches in that. So he should be like a well-oiled machinery. He's got a few runs there also. He captained the side. So he's someone who's one for the future. And like I said, he's got all the shots in the book, and he plays some fabulous shots. So he's good to look at. He can play all the shots. He can take pressure, and he's slowly working on his temperament. He will be facing the new ball. And as we know, the England's got some tall, fast bowlers. So it'll be a good competition. Also, I do feel that his partner, Imam, will also be someone we're looking at closely. He's done well in Test cricket and one day. So he will be also the key man. The opening partnership was almost always the key. And then, of course, the Babar Azams and the Azhar Alis.
And England had a very successful summer here, 6 wins in 7 matches. How do you think, they don't like us saying this anymore, but how do you think Bazball will play in Pakistan on different surfaces?
Well, yeah, first of all, you've got to, sort of assess the conditions and see what kind of, what brand of cricket you should be playing on those conditions. For instance, if the pitch is a square turner, you can't play the Bazball on that, because if the ball is turning square, you will be in trouble if you're too aggressive. But then if you go into a shell also, that's not good. I'm never a fan of going into the shell. I rather play the Bazball brand of cricket. That's more exciting. And I always feel that if you're positive, you address the situations with a positivity in your mind and in your body language and through your strokes, and just have a better body language, it just always serves you well. So I'm a fan of the Bazball brand of cricket, but I also do feel that you've got to assess the conditions before you decide, okay, I'm going to be extra aggressive on this this track, or I'm just going to just sort of see what the ball is doing and then go for my strokes, and if I have to come down the wicket or if I got to play on the back foot. So you've got to assess your situation and then be as positive as you can be. And that's Bazball for me.
Oh, one of the key players for England this summer was Johnny Bairstow. He's out injured. So who are you looking forward to seeing in the 3-match series?
Well, definitely, man. It goes without saying, definitely Ben Stokes. I'm looking at him. He's the captain. He's a man of the moment. He's won England not just Test matches, but World Cups. And he's just got a brilliant temperament alongside having a brilliant game and assessing the conditions well. He's mentally so strong. Another guy I'd be looking at would be Duckett. And of course, Root. Joe Root is, one of the main batsmen for them. Like for Pakistan, if it's Babar Azam, for England, it's Root. I just love his temperament and the way he, just watching the game for 15 minutes, and already in 15 minutes, he'll be 20, 25 not out. So he's someone who starts well, takes the singles, doubles well. If you give him a bad ball, he'll dispatch it to the boundary. So yes, definitely those two with their experience and class, Stokes and Roots. And then, players like Duckett and, whoever's batting in the middle order, if Brooks or whoever's given an opportunity. But then definitely I think England would miss the experience and class of Bairstow, who's done so well in that new Bazball scenario. So he's like Stokes' soldier, one of his main soldiers in the, in the Bazball scheme of things. So he's missing one of his main soldiers, but he's got the other one, Root. So let's see how he does with Root and the youngsters like Brook and Duckett and so on, and folks down the order. He's a good wicket keeper. I like him. He can bat a bit. He's got a good temperament. So yeah, I think England's pretty solid. But they got to assess the condition, not just the philosophy, but have a philosophy according to the conditions.
And talking about the conditions, how do you think the England bowling attack will fare? We've only got the one spinner in Jack Leach. Obviously, Joe Root will bowl quite a lot, I think.
I think the fast bowler is pretty good. Of course, you're missing Broad, who's one of my favorite bowlers, Anderson and Broad, and the way they bowl, I mean, just tremendous. Broad is missing. That's always going to be not great for the English side. That experience, he can reverse swing the ball, and this reverse swing does come into play in the subcontinent. So, you guys are missing him. But then you got enough ammunition in Anderson and Oli Pop and, Robinson and all those guys. But yes, I feel England is going to be using Livingston a lot, because he can bowl both the off spin and leg spin, and he's a very talented cricketer. So he will figure in your middle order as well as be one of your main spinners alongside Leach. He could cause problems for Pakistan because his type of bowlers, you just take him easy, but then he will produce that delivery to get a wicket. And then in Test cricket, 1 wicket can always bring 2, and a good session can always become bad for you if you just say you've got 80 runs in one session and 5 overs to go in that session, but end of the session you got 90 runs but you lost 3 or 4 wickets, then that good session becomes bad for you. So he's someone who would be the key for me alongside Leach, as far as the spinners. But then your fast bowlers also, Anderson with his experience and his class, just my favorite bowler. And also they'll have to figure out what length they'll have to bowl here in Pakistan, whether it's the fuller length or maybe just short of a good length. And if they get their lengths right, they'll cause a lot of difficulty, the fast bowlers. But figuring out the length would be the key for me, both for the Pakistani bowlers, fast bowlers, and the English fast bowlers.
And summing up, what's your prediction for the series? Roland Butcher, who features on this podcast, he went for a Pakistan 2-1 win.
Well, I say maximum Pakistan will be able to draw the series, because like earlier in the podcast, I said that Pakistan does have problems closing out series. If they close it out, and Mr. Butcher's right, and it's a 2-1 series, I'd be over the moon for Pakistan. And I'd really like to see that. But I'd say 1-1. And if not an English win, then 1-1.
And what do you think the crowds will be like for the test matches?
Well, I think there should be good crowds supporting the home team, but the crowds in Pakistan are always very, very supporting towards the teams visiting also. I mean, we're not one of those crowds who you can't even hear a pin dropping in the stadium if your batsman gets out. We support the bowlers. We'll support the touring team. We always have. We're the kind of team would have one team's, the touring team's flag on our cheeks and one side our own flag. So there'll be good support for England for sure. And there'll be good crowds supporting the home team also. Should be, 75-80% stadiums full. So it should be a good experience for the English youngsters touring for the first time, few of them. And the matches should be very exciting. But once again, I'd have to say that there's nothing more important for me than the pitches which are dished out for the series. They need to be supporting for the crowds to enjoy, and then people all over the world on television watching the series. And so the more than the crowd, it's just the pitches. But you're going to see a very supporting good crowd. Yeah.
Well, I think that sums up the series very well, Leena. Thank you very much for joining me on the Paddock and the Pavilion, telling me your own personal story and talking cricket. And I can see how much passion you've got for the game. And hopefully in 2023, I'll get to see you in person in the UK.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was great fun. I mean, we've been planning this for a long time. Finally, we do it, and it's been great fun. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to The Paddock and the Pavilion. You can download the show on Apple Podcasts,
Amazon Music,
SoundCloud, Stitcher and Spotify.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at The Pad and Pad. Don't forget, if you like the show, please do leave us a rating and review.
Sports Social Podcast Network.